Welcome to this INFocus program, a candidate forum for the Richmond Common Council at-large position. With me are 6 candidates, all running for office. And my name is Jeff Carter. I serve as chair of the Wayne County Chamber of Commerce. I want to share appreciation for our sponsors, WCTV, Western Wayne News, and the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce. So this evening is a simple conversation about the future of Richmond and fine folks and their hopes for elected office. So as we turn our attention, let's think about registration for voting. Registration is open. You can visit indianavoters.com or call 765-973-9304. The deadline to register to vote is October 10th, 2023 for the upcoming November 7th election. We do have some upcoming candidate forums. Next week will be Richmond Mayor on October 19th, the Richmond Common Council for Districts 2 and 5. And then on election night, November 7th, there'll be a live program. For absentee early voting, in-person absentee voting starts October 11th. Wednesday, October 11th through Monday, November 6th is early voting, absentee voting from 8:30 to 5 on Mondays, on Tuesdays 8:30 to 4:30. Voter registration office is located in the courthouse on the 2nd floor. So as we look forward to the upcoming election, let's begin with some questions for our candidates this evening. And thanks for joining me in this conversation. The very first question, rather than me introduce you, Jane, I'm going to turn to you and ask you to introduce yourself and why you're running for Richmond Common Council.
My name is Jane Bumbalow, and I'm running for Common Council because I was asked to serve again. I've already previously served for 4 years and look forward again to serving again if elected.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Justin?
Hi, my name is Justin Burkhart. I was born and raised in Richmond, an entrepreneur, raising 3 kids here, product of public education. I'm running for Common Council because I want to serve.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Jerry?
Yes, first of all, Jeff, thank you. And I want to thank WCTV, Wayne County Chamber of Commerce, and Western Wayne News for this opportunity to speak. I'm Jerry Purcell. I'm running for City Council at Large. My wife of 50 years, Mary, and I are lifelong residents of Richmond, along with my 2 sons. I served as fire chief and a firefighter for 39 years, and my sons are both first responders, police and fire. And I feel that I still have some service left in me, and that's the reason I'm running for City Council.
Thanks, Jerry. Claudia?
Thank you, Jeff. Good evening, and thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Claudia Edwards, and I am a resident of Indiana for almost 20 years. I have been in Richmond for the last several years serving the community, and I'm a graduate of IU East. I have a degree in psychology and criminal justice, and I have experience working with children and also through nonprofit work and the corporate world. I am hoping and looking forward to serving our city through the city council position if I was elected, or when I get elected this November 7th.
Thanks, Claudia. Ron?
Hi, my name is Dr. Ron Itmeyer, but please call me Ron. I have running for Richmond City Council at large. I have lived in Richmond for 24 years. My wife Elise and I raised our daughter here. We've been very active in the community with Richmond Civic Theater. I'm on the Street Tree Commission, member of the Union County Solid Waste Board, and the treasurer for the Wayne County Food Council. Last year, I ran for Indiana State Senate. Even though the results weren't what I was hoping for, I still feel a desire to serve the community, and I'd appreciate your vote this November.
Thanks, Ron. Carl?
Good evening. My name is Carl Reinhardt III, and I am ready to serve more of Richmond, Indiana. I am a connector. I am a servant leader. My values are working with others, opening the lines of communication, and also working to understand the perspective of others. I've been doing this work, and I will continue to do this work, as well as take the needs and the concerns of the people to City Council when I'm elected. I look forward to continuing to have conversations with the community, in the community, working together to ensure that we provide a better quality of life for all. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. Some of you mentioned some past responsibilities that may have prepared you for office. Let's be a little more specific. What has prepared you to serve on Richmond Common Council? And Carl, I'm going to turn back to you, and we'll just go around the circle the opposite direction.
Sure, thank you. I think what has prepared me the most is recent experience working within our community. I've assisted with the Wayne County emergency warming shelter. From there on, assisted in the community, helping individuals get connected to resources and services that they need. I've got a history also working with community folks in the community. I do a lot of work with youth and families, providing them access to resources, connecting them with services that they may need, basic needs met, so on and so forth. And so walking alongside the community hand in hand, helping them to get connected to what they need is really opening my eyes up to some of the concerns and the needs that we have in this community. Again, I connect folks already in what I do. I lead as well. And so I think those are two great fits and can be very useful in City Council.
That's great. Ron, what about you? What's prepared you for this position?
Oh, it goes way back. I was raised in rural Illinois. We were very active in our church, saw my family interact with others in the church community. It was a small community, and my dad was a township trustee, and my mother was township supervisor for 25 years. So I witnessed my family giving back to the community, both through the church and through through township work. Here, since 2005, I've been on the Richmond Street Tree Commission, looking at trees, working with the Streets Department, getting to know quite a few of the members there. I have been on the WR board since 2017, have gotten to interact well with the Sanitation Department, trying to improve recycling in Richmond as well as all of Wayne County. And then the latest one has been Wayne County Food Council, and seeing people struggling to make ends meet. I've been working at directing traffic at the local food pantry event when I have a chance, and just seeing the number of people that are coming through, seeing the need. And I'd like to be able to connect all that experience that I've had with a way of trying to make the situation better here in Richmond.
That's great. Thanks, Ron. Claudia, what's prepared you for office?
So I have a wide, broad work experience, and starting from an assembly line at a factory to working my way up and managing an account for a 500 Fortune company in the East Coast. And since then, I've moved to Indiana and worked in Richmond and Ohio, where I have managed a nonprofit organization where I was the executive director and CEO. And I managed and developed the budget to pay off their debt and to invest for the longevity of the organization. And I work directly, hands-on, within our community in Wayne County and beyond to serve the families and the needs of our community. So I have had a direct experience working and including volunteering at the local food pantries. During the pandemic, I saw the immediate need in our community, where I worked as a director of operations for Amigos Latino Center. And I started out of the back of my car and had snacks for families. They normally, a lot of those families received their meals from the schools. And so I wanted to do something. I identified the need, and I immediately came up with a solution and worked toward addressing the need. And one of the things that I did was starting a food pantry, which started out of the back of my car and ended up being in my garage, which I turned into a food pantry for quite some time, for almost a year. And after that, I also noticed that transportation was an issue, and so I took the food pantry and mobilized it and took it to different locations of Richmond and different parks to make it accessible to all the families who were in need. And so we were serving over 400 families. And so through that wide, broad experience in my work life, I have identified needs and I have addressed those, came up with solutions, and worked hard to make the solutions happen.
Thanks. Jerry, what's prepared you for serving on City Council?
Well, first of all, I started serving in different capacities, but the first was while I was in college in Muncie. I served as a big brother. Some events led up to that, and my love for children and helping develop children. I mentored in our public schools for over 20 years. I coached Little League Baseball for 23 years. I came home from college and applied for the Richmond Fire Department knowing that's what I wanted for a career. And it took me 10 years to get hired. So during that time, I ended up managing a business and learning a lot about business management and finance. I brought that to the fire department with me. I served as union president and chief negotiator for the firefighters for 10 years, which was very educational on the city's budget and also in how to communicate and come to agreements in an adult manner. I then served as fire chief. I got a call in 2013. I was on vacation, telling me that I needed to come home because the fire department was in trouble. I came home. The fire department was getting ready to lay off 20 men and close 2 firehouses. Their capital equipment was laid waste. We did not meet federal standards. I came back, reorganized the department, took over the EMS services, and operated under what's called a sunk cost model. And when I left, we had almost $5 million in the bank, was off of the city's tax rolls for capital equipment, and had actually enlarged the manpower of the department and reduced response times from 9 minutes to 3 minutes with our ambulance service, which is a life-saving service. Also in that, we were able to do what we call soft billing, so that people that could not afford their ambulance cost, they were not sent to credit for collection. Also in all of this, something I didn't mention is I was on many boards and organizations and volunteer groups, state and local, including Etta Lundy and myself. I don't know if people here remember Etta, but tremendous woman. But her and I started Habitat for Humanity in our community. We started it as called the Marion Williams Remembrance Fund to build one house, and ended up joining with Earlham and starting Habitat for Humanity. So my career has been very wide. My volunteerism has been very deep in our community, and I think this has prepared me for City Council. It's also prepared me to lead, in my opinion.
Thanks, Jerry. Justin?
Thanks, Jeff. I think the biggest thing for me leading up to deciding to run for City Council is just my love for the community. And growing up here, Baxter School, Dennis Middle School, Richmond High School, getting to know not only the people on the west side of Richmond, but throughout. I wanted to get involved. I've been on several nonprofit boards. I'm a very proud board member of the Boys and Girls Club of Wayne County here. But I started my career here in Richmond as a fundraiser. So really understanding what that meant on a shoestring budget, collaboration, and bringing the experts together and to raise money to get these programs going, to get the service in place. So I know what it takes to connect people to programs, and I know there's a lot of need here in Richmond, and also being involved in my kids' school, being the past board president of Seton Schools, and what the struggles there, and again on a shoestring budget. And that leads me to today, and being raised with service at heart, being a servant leadership, and also knowing what it means to hold others accountable.
All right. Thanks, Justin.
All
Jane?
righty. Okay. So what has prepared me? I was born and raised in a large family. I'm one of 10 children. My father was active politically, and he was also the Wayne County tax assessor for years. I've been a lifelong resident of Wayne County. I am a graduate of Richmond High School in the GED program, and I am married. I've been married for almost 40 years this month. Mother of 10. I homeschooled my children for 16 years, and one of them has his doctorate. They all graduated high school, and I couldn't be prouder of all of them. I'm a grandmother of 16 children. 3 of my children are United States veterans. One of my sons served 2 years in Iraq. I was on the, I have been involved in the community for many, many years doing various things. One of them is I was on the governing board for the Wayne County Health Department clinic portion for 3 years serving. Currently on the Drug-Free Wayne County Board, and I'm the liaison for the Housing Authority of Richmond. I have been serving as a group facilitator for Crossroad Christian Recovery Center for women. I have a daughter who went through that program. And I've been a senior home care provider for over 39 years. So all these things and many other things, along with volunteering in the school systems, the private school at Seton, and I also have volunteered at Richmond High School along with Chris Lepresti in communities in schools. So all these various things, along with many other things, has given me a well-rounding to understand from the least of these, those who are struggling in school, rising above, going to college. I went to college and got 3 certifications to help me with my care for the senior citizens. But it's I think that it's those life things that have happened that have prepared me to serve. I was elected 4 years ago to serve. I have enjoyed serving the community. My favorite thing, honestly, is when people call me on the phone and they just need to talk, whether it's a complaint, a concern, needing help. That's my favorite part of the job, is just being with the people and serving them. So that is why I'm here.
Thanks, Jane. It's
Thank you.
pretty awe-inspiring to think of the number of years of service in this circle, right?
Oh, yeah.
Not just to this community, but other communities. I mean, clearly, folks that want the best for this
Yes.
community. So let's talk about this community. When thinking about the Richmond community, what are 2 or 3 community assets that immediately come to mind? And Ron, I'm going to turn to you first. What comes to mind when you think of community assets?
Well, one of the things that made it kind of an easy choice to come here is the arts. We have been involved with Richmond Civic Theater, there's Richmond Symphony Orchestra, there's the Art Museum, Historical Society. There are just so many opportunities to partake in the arts here in town. There are solid businesses across the spectrum in different industries. And then, kind of shameless plug here for where we're sitting, there are 5 institutions of higher education in Richmond. So there are so many things that could, those are some of the things that attracted us to Richmond.
Fantastic. Justin, what are your 2 or 3 community assets?
Well, I think the biggest for me is the people. I think we have incredible people here. We have smart people. We have hardworking people. So it's amazing, and I'm inspired by that daily. We have great healthcare here. We have great educational institutions. And we have great nonprofits. We have nonprofits that are getting it done every single day.
Agreed. Jerry, what would you add?
Well, I have to agree with Ron about the arts. Back in the day, we have a tremendous history here, and that part of that history plays into the depth of our arts in Richmond, which is not normal in a city our size. Recently, I had a visitor here from Europe, and I took him to the Art Museum, and I took him to our Symphony Hall, and he's from quite a large city, and he was just amazed. And sometimes we don't see the assets because we've grown up with them in the way that others see them. But our history, as I brought up, the arts, our location. We're in an amazing location for future growth and future commerce here in Richmond at the crossroads.
That's great, thanks. Carl, what about you? What would you add to this list of growing assets?
Man, yeah, great question. I think, to be quite honest, I think sometimes we think too much about the negatives, and we point those out. But 3 assets that I believe, in my experience, that we have here is, number one, the people. We have amazing, amazing people that come together, especially in times of crisis. But I've also, in my work, been able to see folks just come together and love on each other. But our first responders are amazing. Our businesses, and then also just our folks in the community looking out for one another. Our youth is another asset. I work with youth on a daily basis. I run a nonprofit called Future Achievers, and I get to see the potential in them. And they definitely want to do better. They want more for themselves, and we have a great opportunity to support them and ensure that they get that. And then finally is the opportunities. So we have a lot of opportunities in this community. Opportunities for innovation, opportunities to open up businesses, for new people to come in and to start businesses and to really improve their quality of life.
Thanks, Carl. Jane, what would you add to the list?
Well, my number one thing on my list is the people. With being born and raised here in Wayne County, I've watched babies be born and grow up and thrive, and the people are number one at the top of my list. The other 2 things I thought of is the historical, just the history here, the rich history that we have here, the historical buildings, just how the city has evolved and blossomed, and it continues on with the ideas that people have and they want to add to it. That's something that I absolutely love. Also the geographical assets. We have beautiful land here, a lot of beautiful land, and I'm very excited for the potential use and the opening up for people to explore the possibilities in Richmond that can happen. I absolutely love it here, and I love to go visit other places, but I'm always happy to be home. I'm always happy to be here, and like I said, the number one thing is being with everybody.
That's great. Claudia, what would you add to the list?
Sure, they left me no options. No, we have great assets in our community, and there are so many. And to concur with everyone else, the arts in our community are splendid, and there are spectacular opportunities that we offer to not only to our city residents, but to the communities around us. The symphony is a huge asset, the theater and the museum, and that's something that I'm definitely passionate about. And it's one of the things that I am personally working on enhancing. I have been working on opening up a cultural center for the arts where we can provide language lessons in addition to art and other experiences. And so I am ready to work with and continuing to work with all of these nonprofits in the community. The way that the people come together and face crisis and challenges, and the passion that they show, and the collaboration that each individual and each nonprofit does day to day is a huge asset, and I'm so proud to be able to be here and work with them. And I come from a very international family. I have family literally all over the world, and I have been able to see how other countries and other communities operate, and I think that out of all the places that I have been and all of the places that I could live, I chose Richmond as my community, and I'm proud to be here.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And as someone who moved here 10 years ago, all the assets are so numerous.
Yeah.
And Carl, you're right. Often we look at the negatives or things that we may want to fix, but the assets are just tremendous. Let's stay on that theme. When you think about stepping back onto City Council, what's something that's positive happening in city government that you would want to either continue or build upon? I'm going to lay that question open to whoever has the answer first. Sure, Claudia.
The EDC, that is an organization, an entity of our city that is doing wonderful work. They have been working tirelessly to bring new businesses and large investments into our community, which is an investment in our people, bringing jobs, and also through tax revenue. I think that the crew at the EDC have been doing tremendous work, and I will do, when I get elected, everything that I can to support their efforts and to expand the work that they have been doing.
Great. Other positive things that you would want to continue or even build upon?
Well, I like the dialogue that's been going on about developing down at the gorge and opening it up and making it accessible for families to go down there. And I think that is just absolutely wonderful. And the arts, you know, and the crisis. It had been mentioned in times of crisis, everyone getting together. That's something that is positive. You have somebody that genuinely expresses a need, and you have people rise to the occasion and want to fill the need. I remember one time, I think it was with the warming shelter, that people were providing. They had an overabundance of water, and I mean, there was an abundance of supplies ready to be given to the people. And I absolutely love that. And I also love how the nonprofits that we have here are rich. I don't think that there's a day that goes by where people do not find a meal. And if they can't find one, I'll fix you a meal. And I just love how people come together in crisis, and that's priceless.
Yeah, for me, I think it's the focus on the people. Doing things and passing legislation that really supports our community. I love City Council passing the new tax abatement rules to be able to up the pay rate that folks will get for those tax breaks, in addition to structuring it such that it decreases as time goes on. The other is the providing of the new spaces. I mean, recreational opportunities is coming and has been here. Living spaces have been here. We visited, got the chance to visit a space downtown that's been renovated. It's beautiful, and it definitely is inspiring to see this work being done, and lets me know there's a lot of possibilities in this community.
Other positives that you see you want to build on or continue?
Yeah. I teach biology here at IU East, and I'm the director of the Office of Sustainability. And I know the role that the environment plays in the living conditions for residents of Richmond. We are a Tree City, USA. And I'm going to compliment the Parks Department and the Street Tree Commission for getting that, and the Streets Department for getting that designation. With the heat map that showed that some of the hottest parts of town, and it was 12 degrees different from the coolest part of town to the hottest part of town. Hottest part was 10th and Main, where there's lots of parking lot and lots of roof space. The coolest part was in Hayes Arboretum. So using that tree city designation and being able to expand on that for getting trees planted in the town, and thank you for passing the Climate Action Plan. Being able to make decisions based on how it can benefit the environment as well as, in addition to the citizens of Richmond. So those are some things that I'm really pleased with what the previous council has done.
Excellent.
I'm inspired, again, people. I'm inspired by the people, and I'm inspired by our first responders. And I can so appreciate, as a former fundraiser, how the city has allowed our police, our fire, our first responders to participate in fundraising activities, nonprofit activities, by the closing of streets and keeping us patrons safe as these events come through, so that these nonprofits have the ability to raise more money safely. So I'm inspired and very appreciative of our first responders.
Well, I'll build on that and saying that one of the best programs recently put in place, I think, that we need to continue is the social work program that's working through our first responders in the fire department. It is expanded now to where Wayne County is also working through the Richmond Fire Department with social workers to deal with the homeless and the drug situation in our community. And I think that that also alleviates a lot of time for our police officers that before had to try to figure out how to deal with this problem. Now they can call the fire department, a social worker will show up and take over the situation. I want to also talk about the fact that a lot of industry has left Richmond. We do have new industry coming in, but we have to change our model a little bit, I think, for the future. And one of them is a weekend destination. And I think the development of the gorge and some of our other assets, our park system, et cetera, is a way of making us a weekend destination, which will help all of our businesses. I would like to see the gorge, and I've had some ideas there. I'd like to see us raise the river level to the point that we could use it for water recreation, et cetera, and I think that can be done.
That's great. A lot of possibility. A lot of possibility. So if you think about City Council in the next 4 years, for you, what are 2 priorities? So 2 priorities for City Council in the next 4 years. Justin?
I really, to me, there's going to be some really tough budgetary issues coming. I think having that fiduciary responsibility and then holding leadership accountable to that. Financially, the future relies on that. I know we've got a lot of vacancies in the Richmond Police Department currently. Safety is everything for a thriving community. So making sure that we are satisfying the needs and being able to recruit and retain and to be able to support our first responders in those endeavors.
I think that one of the things we have to do is look at our approach, and we are the fiscal body, in dealing with how we improve the investment quality of our small business districts. And there's ways to do that. And I think the model has to be that we increase the value of these investments, and we do that through infrastructure upgrades. And I think that that's something that as a fiscal body we have to look at. In other words, it's a pretty simple equation that when you want someone to invest in our buildings, et cetera, downtown and restore them, that there's an equation there, and that equation is what's the investment going to be and what's the return going to be over a specified period of time. And we can raise the value of that and reduce that time before that investment gives returns by providing the infrastructure that increases the values of those buildings, et cetera. And I think that's got to be a focus of the City Council over the next few years in helping our small business areas develop and also saving our historic buildings.
One of the things that I think we should focus on is housing accessibility. As the landscape changes with people moving in and out of our city, what we want to do is attract new residents and find ways in which we can retain them. I think that through refurbishing some of those buildings that we have empty or vacant at the moment, and finding ways or programming that can make housing accessible for young families would be a great way to address the issues on housing in our city. And another thing that we should focus on is balancing the budget. One of the most important responsibilities of City Council is approving the budget for the city, and I believe that balancing the budget is very important, focusing on the funds that we already have and not hoping to get more, but working with what we currently have. And from what I understand and have been reviewing the previous finance reports, is that at the end of the year, we're actually coming under. So we're not spending more than we have. We're actually spending a little less than what we kind of projected. So trying to maintain those and focus on those 2 areas would be something that I would focus on.
As a continuation, I would say the environment is one of the things it's a passion for me, and within sustainability, being able to make this a healthier community, a sustainable community, tap into some of the jobs that can come about through sustainability and renewable resources and so forth. The other part, kind of taking off with what Jerry was saying, infrastructure. We need to have good streets. We need to have good sewer. We have an outstanding sanitation department and system. We're one of the few towns that we actually own our own landfill, and if we can maintain sustainable, increase recycling, that can last us years and years and years, that we then won't have to try to build another one or ship our waste off someplace else at a higher cost. So things that we can maintain and be sustainable are important, plus opportunities for all. We need to have opportunities for everybody that lives in town to make a better life for themselves.
Few things for me, excuse me. Number one, I mean, I believe definitely it's important to continue to support the services that support our community. I mean, so, of course, our first responders, sanitation, all those departments that go to provide the needed and necessary services for our community, we need to continue to support those. In addition with that, I do believe there is a need to do some work and around our environment and making sure that our community is sustainable. To continue to provide services, but that we're also taking care of our community as well through shelters and shelter space and paying attention to what happens to folks who are out in the cold, as well as that heat management plan and what's happening to folks when the community gets very hot. Some things that are near and dear and passionate to me, though, as well, in addition to that, is our neighborhoods. We have our neighborhoods are actually carved up into neighborhoods, each of them with names and associations, and that was on our books at one point in time. It was funded, and I would love to see that come back. I'm actually doing work now, some research into that, and I've been talking with some neighbors in neighborhoods to bring that back, to be able to bring resources into the neighborhoods instead of expecting our neighbors to try to navigate transportation and what have you to be able to get to the resources that they need. And then along with that too, also passionate about our homeless population, those that are dealing with substance use issues. Housing is on my mind as well, to market rate, as well as support for those that are not able to afford those, but making sure that we have safe and quality housing for everybody.
Thanks, Carl. Jane, do you have anything to add?
I agree with what everybody has said. One of the things that comes to my mind is about building on a firm foundation. We have to take care of the foundation first to be able to build. So the thing that is the most pressing is caring for what is already in existence, making sure that what already exists is cared for, the buildings, making sure that the city is clean. We're responsible for taking care of the lawns, just cleaning it up. And that right there is welcoming to businesses, because businesses come and they look around and they see what's here, they meet the people, and they do look at, they look at our environment and what kind of shape it's in, and it's important. Some areas are wonderful, some areas we still need to pitch in and continue to help and make it nice. I love volunteering. I just volunteered with Alley Cats, and we cleaned up the Star District, and that was fun. I love connecting like that in the community, where we are actually doing something proactive to do these things of cleaning up and making things just nice for everybody. And it does. When you will find that when you yourself take the responsibility of something that needs done, it is catching. People do notice. And it does help inspire others to do the same. And I think that if we all, as a whole in the community, and I speak this for myself too, if we all spend less talking about it and we actually say, what can I do personally to contribute to help the situation? I really think that this community, it will continue to just evolve and be cleaned up and things fixed, and very even more attractive. Also, transparency. I think that, the thing is that when we're all open and honest with each other, it builds trust. And in that, you build the relationships. And that's the foundation for our community. If you don't have that communication with one another, the love and trust for one another, you can't work together and build. But when you make that first, because the people are the ones that are doing the work. When we do that first, when we really put aside the differences, put aside the politics, put aside the name game, and really seek and see one another and care for one another and work together, that right there is going to start building that firm foundation. All those other things are going to build on that. So the relationships are the number one priority all across the board.
Thanks, Jane.
You're welcome.
Folks are hearing this conversation, and we have a question that's coming in from a viewer, and it's something that you raised, Claudia, and Justin, you raised. It's about the budget. And so, Ryan, if there we have the question, council's responsible for the budget. What experience do you have working with large budgets? So what experience do you have with large budgets? Jane?
Okay, so I think that I know that they're talking about city budgets and everything, but I'm going to hone it down a little bit about a budget. With raising 10 kids on a shoestring budget and on one income, our family's debt-free. We own our home, we own our cars, and we have leftover to help other people. So it's at a smaller scale, but if you take that and you apply it, like within the city, one of the things that I think about with that experience at home and working within my own family, how you transfer that to the city is that you make sure, example, the projects that we talk about and we want to do, we want to make sure that they are done well with simplicity, where it does not put a burden on future generations. You want to make sure it's sustainable. You want to make sure what you're doing is sustainable. The maintenance is not overbearing and extremely costly. These are things that fit into when you're thinking about a large budget. And my experience is 4 years being on council. It's a process. I don't know everything. I never will know everything. And it's a growing process as you are involved in it and you watch it happen, and every year it's a little bit different. You watch how some people can try to add a little here and there. You have to watch over that. I like the this last budget that we passed. We did do an amendment on it where now some of the money is going to be, they're going to have to come back to council for it to be appropriated close to $1 million. And I think that's important because we need to be accountable with how money is spent. And that's why I voted on the budget this year, was that amendment on there. That was a good move.
Well, let me add that to the question then. What experience have you had with large budgets, and how would you ensure that we would have a sustainable and balanced budget? So that's the piece you're talking about. Mm-hmm. So for the rest of you, experience with a large budget, and how would we ensure a accountability and a balanced budget?
So first of all, I would think that I know that you'd have to analyze and assess the budget. And it's something that it can't be done overnight, and it can't be done over the period of months, but it's something that you have to invest the time to go line by line if you truthfully want to be successful with it. I think that is a very important task for City Council. I believe that working on addressing and prioritizing the expenditure is important, and figuring out what funds are earmarked for what, and what the needs are in the community, and trying to allocate those funds properly. It's important, and so it's a large responsibility, and I believe that we need to spend more time analyzing it, and again, not waiting for more funds or how are we going to pay for this or that or the other. It's okay, this is what we have. What are we truly able to do with that, and where are our priorities? Where are the needs of our city? Infrastructure is one. We've been lucky and very blessed to have the state allocate funds to us to repair and maintain our roads. And when we have the ability to do that, we have to accept it. And it can pose an inconvenience, for period of time, but we have to work around that because we have to be able to look at the longer term. We have to have the vision for the next 20 years, not just for the next 4 years. I understand that the city council position is a 4-year term, but we have to be able to make decisions that will impact the city in a longer term and be able to work and look at the whole community as a whole.
Others, Justin, you were going to jump in.
Yeah. So throughout my entire career, I've been given a budget and stayed in that budget. It is the roadmap, and it's what guides you through the 12-month period. Multi-million-dollar budgets, the actual expenditures. I think it's incredibly important for frequent check-ins, so that you're providing that transparency, and you're also holding department heads accountable. These are precious dollars. We can't print money, or we shouldn't print money, and it's all we got, and we have to be creative. We have to have partnerships, but our budget is what it is, and I think that you have to be creative to navigate that, and we have to live within our means, all the while trying to grow and be successful.
I'll jump in there.
Yeah.
I've obviously managed one of the largest budgets in the city with the Richmond Fire Department's budget, and I think did that successfully. One of the careful things you have to be is, obviously in the state of Indiana you have to operate within your budget. You don't have a choice, and thank goodness we don't. But one of the things is when you have a large influx of money, which is something that's happening right now, post-COVID, et cetera, you have to make sure and invest those monies in a way that does not give you additional cost into the future, and also in a way that possibly increases your tax base or your tax income. So right now, with this influx of cash and our current budget situation, I think it's very important that, number one, we have to balance the budget. That's law. But we can also possibly, with these large influxes of money, create a larger tax base for the city in the future.
Thanks, Jerry.
Yeah, excuse me. I've been involved, directly and indirectly with budgets throughout my adult career. Thinking about employers, if the company isn't meeting its bottom line, if you are the employee, oftentimes you're getting blamed for that. And so, in addition to my service on boards, I'm sitting on a couple now. I'm also the co-founder of a nonprofit, and so budgets is definitely what I do there, as well as raising and finding funds as well too. I think the important thing to remember is it's not really about the amount of money, but it's about the skill set, and it's about the values of the person that's managing that money. So whether you have $10 in the bank or $10 billion in the bank, it's how you manage that's extremely important. And one of the things that I think that's important is to ask questions. Definitely make sure that you know what's going on. You have relationships established with departments, and that you understand their needs and where funds are going. And I think accountability is a big piece of that as well too.
Being raised on a farm, frugal is the nice way to explain it. Some people might say cheap, but frugal. So I would consider myself fiscally conservative when it comes to that. In terms of actual hands-on, I was a station manager for a seed corn company for 10 years and managed a $500,000 budget with 3 other full-time employees and between 35 and 50 seasonal employees. So both managing from a personnel standpoint, from a budgeting standpoint, as well as how many plots go here, how many plots go there, and so forth. And then finally, I'm a numbers person. I can see patterns in the numbers. It's frustrating to my wife, who's an English professor, that she can put phrases together exquisitely. I can see the numbers. So I think that would be something, a skill that would work well with looking at a budget.
Thanks. And so let me work on some phrases. You're watching INFocus, the candidate forum for Richmond City Common Council at Large. I want to thank our partners, WCTV, Western Wayne News, and the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce. So the next question, we have the potential of experiencing one of the largest investments to Richmond, particularly the downtown, in the coming few years, with the impact of help projects, the Ready 2.0, which is focused on the quality of life, quality of place, and quality of opportunity, and Downtown Renaissance, with the development of the Elder Bierman Building, the Loop, and the public-private partnerships, such as the renovation of the building Secret Ingredient, which was offers us some new apartments, right? And so how do we leverage this type of investment in downtown so that we can multiply its impact?
I'll speak to that because it's close to my heart. I feel that right now, and to be quite honest, I hate to be negative, but I think that we're on the wrong course because city government cannot afford to invest in the buildings downtown. It's much better to have private investment. And that can be encouraged through improvement of the infrastructure and the value of the buildings. And I think that that's the course we need to change to at this point in time. You mentioned the different organizations that are working downtown. Main Street Richmond in the past was the organization that created matching grants, et cetera, through different means of financing. And through that, you talk about apartments. There was 5 apartments put in downtown, market rate with $100,000 investment. You can't beat that investment return that Main Street was able to do. But with the recent change of direction in the city and creation of its own not-for-profit, those funds are limited now for Main Street. And I think we need to return to the model that we had previously and letting Main Street provide the matching grants, et cetera, for the downtown business owners. They are the foundation of our restoration and the foundation as owners of those buildings. And I support helping them, and I look at them, like I said, as the foundation that we need to work with. Our group has had 3 meetings with the downtown business owners to discuss what they need, not what we think they need. And we've come up with some clear pictures of what they're looking for. Number 1, you've talked about the bike loop. Well, they need parking downtown, and those 2 things are in conflict. So we've looked into the aspect of possibly bike lanes, but creating all the parking that we can downtown, which is about 75 spots per block. Also, they want the infrastructure for sprinkler systems, and that can be done with some of these monies that we're getting an influx of right now. And what that'll do is make all the floors usable for any occupancy that you want. Right now, the problem with the downtown and historic buildings is that they're basically operating on 1 floor of commerce, and you cannot maintain these buildings properly with 1 floor of commerce. Installing infrastructure for sprinkler systems would open up all the floors of those buildings, increase their value, and make the investment worthwhile for private investment.
Thanks. Justin?
Yeah, I really would like to piggyback off of what he is saying. I think that we can really build off of the things that you mentioned, but collaboration is everything in this. And there are families, there are friends, whether it's in the downtown or throughout, that have poured their blood, sweat, and tears, their entire family's livelihood into some of these things, some of these projects, and some of these commerce buildings, and so we as city government need to work in collaboration. The city should not be a property management group. The city should be collaborating and supporting, which I think is incredibly important, and communicating and being transparent. I think that, as Jerry pointed out, it's important for the city to understand the needs of those that invested, not just for profit, but also nonprofit. Because when we thrive, we all thrive together, and that's what's so important, I think. So we've got great opportunities, but not all money. There are restricted monies, and not all money is good money. So I think that we have to be careful with some of these opportunities, and we have to bring everybody to the table and understand what some of these barriers are.
Every time I see some investment in the downtown, I see businesses doing things down there. We talked about Secret Ingredient. I got a chance to see those apartments down there, which again are beautiful. A lot of great work went into those. I keep thinking of that's the blueprint. That's the blueprint, right? And so for me, I want to find out, I want to sit down with them and figure out, how did you do this? How did you make this work? With all the challenges that we know we have, older buildings, infrastructure problems, so on and so forth, financing and how much things cost. How were you able to accomplish this? How are we able to accomplish a company coming in and looking at acquiring that Elder Beerman space and creating at market rate, apartments there. And so that's where my mind goes is let's figure out how people are doing it now and see if there's a way that we can duplicate that work. It is definitely going to take some innovation on our part and some willingness to kind of think outside the box. And we can't be afraid of doing things a little bit differently and breaking with the old way of doing things. I think as we grow, though, and as we see this development, there are definitely probably some opportunities for us to tweak some things. And so learning opportunities as well. Let's keep what's going well, and those things that we need to work on or we need to adjust, let's adjust it as need be.
Thanks. Claudia, you were going to jump in.
Sure. So definitely agree with Carl, and I agree with some of the things that Jerry said on the fact that the city should be investing in infrastructure. However, I would disagree with, the fact that the city investing in one of the downtown buildings is the wrong direction. I believe that's also infrastructure, and I believe that it's revitalizing and helping revitalize our downtown area. And I know that it's part. Why can't we make this a win-win situation for everybody? We don't have to pick and choose one idea over the other. When we look at the collaboration that we're all doing in the city and how we're coming together to make things happen and to make these ideas come to fruition, we're doing great work. And I believe that one of the areas that we are investing, we are taxpayers, and if we can keep our taxes down and make those taxes work for us, then why not? I think that's part of investment, and that's part of managing a budget and looking at the budget as how we can maximize the impact of those dollars.
One of the things about downtown is there are a lot of businesses that are active. It encourages people to go down there, but as you walk downtown, there's the next one's vacant. You go to a couple more, there's a couple other ones. There almost needs to be a critical mass reached for enough to motivate and encourage people to go to downtown. One of the things that I see and have heard about as I've been talking with members of the community and business owners downtown is that there are quite a few out-of-town owners of some of these buildings. And they don't have a motivation to have a business in their main floor or to do any kind of updates. They bought it as an investment. It might be a write-off for whatever purposes that's benefiting their company and them in another state, but it's not benefiting Richmond. Right. So I think we need to have either work with the enforcement that we currently have or look at other communities. I've heard that Rushville has a very robust enforcement system for out-of-town ownership. If they sit there for so long, they should sell it and get out and let somebody else that actually utilize that space. So that's one of the things that I would look into and pursue would be trying to get those businesses to actually have something in there.
May I respond to Ron on that and a little bit to Claudia? First of all, I've been sitting on ordinance now for over a year, and I hope that we can get that passed. And it's a shuttering ordinance, which regulates how you can shutter a building, how long it can be shuttered, and also ownership of property outside of the city and how that has to be managed. I think that this is a very important ordinance that will deal with a lot of the things that you're discussing at this particular time. First of all, it requires that a building not be disconnected from utilities, whether it be a house or whether it be a commercial building. It requires that if you're going to board up the windows, it has to be boarded up with what's called clear board for first responder safety, etc. And it also requires a 2-year plan for bringing that building back online. And I think that ordinance is very important that we pass before we do anything else starting next year and before the city gets rid of the over 300 properties that it currently owns. And I do think we need to liquidate those and get those back on the tax roll. But first, we have to pass an ordinance managing these buildings and how they will be managed into the future. So that's one of the things that answers a lot of the questions being asked here. Now, we talked a little bit about the Elder Beerman building and the market rate apartments. Well, that's going to be right now. I don't think it's timing-wise. These things have to be timed out. And right now, that's in direct competition with what the multiple floors downtown will probably best be used for, which is market rate apartments. And there's quite a bit of space for that. Now, right now you talked about the apartments above secret ingredients. Currently, the law is that if it had an apartment in the past, you can put an apartment up there without sprinkler systems. I don't agree with that in the sense that we should look at safety and possible conflagration of our downtown if we have a fire. So that's the reason I talk about the infrastructure for sprinkler systems. And what we can do is up the value of those buildings for private investment, not the city trying to manage property. And that is what I was trying to express earlier. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Jane and give you the same question I gave everyone else, and then I'm going to follow back up and talk about some housing and how do we turn around the population decrease for Richmond and Wayne County. But how do we leverage these dollars so that they can be multiplied for impact within our local community?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for what they shared because there's not a whole lot to add to that. From what I have written down, one of the things that I've learned is that if you want to be successful, you go and you visit a place that is successful. You go and watch what they're doing. One of the things that I still have to go back to is that they have very good relationships. And that's something that that needs to continue, us partnering together with others. One of the things I read in the HELP initiative is getting students involved. That's something that hasn't been mentioned, and that's something that is near and dear to my heart because our city has so much rich history to it, and it all came from people who put of themselves in the community. And our children are growing up, and it's wonderful for them to hear of our rich heritage, but they want to be part of that too. And so it's wonderful to get the children involved, get the students involved. The other thing that helps leverage this is we have to continue, we have to listen. We have to listen to what the business owners want. We have to listen to what they have to share. Look at the successful business owners. You know, sit down and talk with them and listen. You know, we glean from one another. One person doesn't know everything. They don't hold all, you know, the knowledge and information and all the success. We have to seek that out from one another and build on that together. Downtown, one of the things I thought of, now this is just me, other people have different ideas, but one of the things that has been brought to me more than once is about the Elder Beerman property. One of the, I still would love to see a big box store go down there. I think that I interviewed with a community member who is a successful businesswoman, and she said an anchor store draws others. I remember when I was younger and Elder Beerman was in existence, we would go shop at Elder Beerman, then we would go get our treats across the street at the bakery. Then we decided we wanted to go visit the other shops downtown too, but it was a drawing card down there. That's personally what I like, other people, but just like everything else, everybody has their thoughts and ideas and can contribute. Let's see if there's anything else on here. I think just listening, partnering, letting the, one thing I do want to address, and it goes back with the students, I've noticed over time this gap in our community, and I do want to address that because I'm a senior home care provider, you know, and a lot of the people, like I said before, so many people have put their blood, sweat, and tears into this community. And then you have the younger generations coming up that have their ideas. They may not fit with the older generations of how they even did things. But I think as we respect one another, the younger generations respect what has already been here, because it didn't just happen. You know, it was put here by our elders. And by the same token, you know, our elders let those creative younger generations come up, and frankly, I like to go down zip lines. I heard that there was a zip line they thought of downtown. I like to do that. I like to do rock climbing. I like to go I love fishing. You know, so there's so many things that we can do when we work together. So I can't express it enough. The foundation is the relationships in the community.
Thanks, Jane.
You're welcome.
Claudia, you made a comment earlier about the EDC, and so economic development has really been on the rise. When we think about so much economic development happening within Richmond and really the county, how do we convert business expansion? These companies coming in and creating so many jobs for us that are local. How do we convert business expansion to residential population increase? Because as we all know, there are many folks that work in Richmond, Wayne County, but they do not live here. So how do we convert business expansion to residential increase, which gives us then a greater population?
Well, I think that goes back to housing accessibility and the expansion or housing options that we are able or should be able to offer in our community. And just to go back to the Elder Beerman building, you know, if we don't have housing and the quality of life to provide to newcomers and new residents that we are trying to attract, and we're trying to retain current residents, then, you know, we can't make sure that those tax dollars stay within our city. But I believe that, you know, I mean, you look at the mall in Richmond, the parking lots sit empty. People are not shopping. The landscape for the market has changed tremendously. A lot of folks are shopping online, and we see an increase on, we were just talking earlier about Amazon and other retailers, online retailers. And so if people are not shopping in Richmond, you know, I don't know that it's the best option. I don't believe it's the best option to bring more retail, big box retail. I think that, you know, having housing and quality of life can definitely help bring new residents, attract new residents, and retain the population that we currently have, and diversify the jobs that we're bringing and then the businesses that we're bringing. I believe that by diversifying the businesses that we're trying to attract and working on attracting, will, you know, give and provide a solid economic foundation for our city, but also it would attract different residents, you know, and different jobs from trade to white collar, blue collar. I believe that we should focus on that and working together and looking at all of those aspects to make the economic development, you know, truly succeed and try to expand it in that way.
So economic development then leads to population growth.
Right.
So others?
For me, I'm sitting here as kind of reflecting on the question, and one thing I'll say though is looking at population decrease or how do you increase it. I think decrease is a multifaceted issue. I think people have probably left the community for more than just a reason of more than just a job. They're going to come, I think, to Richmond for more than just a job as well. And so what I would propose definitely is taking a comprehensive look at the underlying issues that affect this problem, and then having a comprehensive plan as well. And so talking to the businesses as they're coming in and kind of looking at where they're sourcing their employees from. I think we automatically assume that it's going to come from Richmond or Wayne County, but oftentimes that may not be the case. I mean, you know, I know of one company that's busing folks from Indianapolis, I believe I heard, to come in and work there. But I see us, you know, really being able to sit down with not only the businesses, but then let's also sit down with our developers, our housing developers, contractors, house flippers, big and small, because that's where the need is too. I agree. You know, if people are going to move here, they want to move into a property that's ready to accept them. You know, that's turnkey almost for a lot. I'm sure for those that can afford it, they have, you know, more choices and options. I mean, they can build, you know, their own home. Met over this past weekend a couple who came from out west who are working on a Victorian home in our center city, which is great. And that brings up a point too, is let's market. If there's a market for that, then let's tap into that. Let's find those folks and learn too. There was another individual that came from out of the country and shopped for a home online and made that their primary home right here in Richmond. And that's amazing that people are willing to do that. So we need to tap into that market and market directly to them. But going back with the conversation with our businesses and developers there, again, creating opportunities for those developers to then renovate those homes and get those ready for these new folks, you know, potentially coming in. And then also for those that are going to take on some of these jobs, and it's going to provide them some upward mobility too. They're going to want new places to be able to move into, going from renting to owning. And so having that available, I think, is going to be helpful.
Well, so I would like to just really start with public safety. And I feel like attracting people and retaining families here in Richmond and Wayne County is, do you feel safe? And so I think that understanding that the city council can only do so much, but I think that safety is just everything. That is the foundation of how we, as humans, we need to feel safe. And then we have incredible resources that are already here. I've mentioned healthcare, educational opportunities that are here are incredible. My 3 children are in 3 different school systems here. So to have the options is an attraction in its own. We've got a great country club. We have a great downtown. We have great arts. And I think that, you know, City Council could really just be there to uplift, support, get back to the foundation. Entities are already doing these great things, but it's really kind of just bringing that in the spotlight. To, you know, you need aftercare. Boys and Girls Club of Wayne County is excellent. You know, and it's things like that. I feel like we're already doing a great job. But society has also changed too, from work from home, you know, online jobs and such. So.
And we have an incredibly low cost of living.
We have
So there's a lot of
I was gonna
retirees
mention.
that move here because of the low cost of living. But then what does that mean for remote work? Because that's new since the pandemic. And so how can we capitalize on that? Questions still before us about Ron?
Yes. One of the things, and I've had the opportunity when we've had some, when we're doing a candidate search for new faculty, I've been able to take them around the community. And I highlight the assets of the community. So the ones that I noted, the Parks Department. You have the Reservoir, you have Glen Miller Park. The arts, as I've mentioned multiple times already, Richmond Civic Theater is a jewel for a town this size to have that much activity, as is the Richmond Symphony Orchestra. Those are things that, you know, people pay really big money in big, you have to go to Cincinnati, Dayton, or Indianapolis to get something that's even comparable to that. And you can get, you know, get in and be participating in that. The natural beauty, you've mentioned the gorge already. I was going to mention the cost of living and the school system and the school systems that are available. But my daughter excelled at Richmond Community Schools, and the number of opportunities that she had as a result of the Richmond Community Schools that have led her to being successful at Indiana University in Bloomington. So, you know, there's so many things here in Richmond that we can use to sell.
It circles back to that asset question.
Back to the asset.
What are the assets that we can leverage
Yes.
so that folks may come here for work and then they end up making this their home, which you mentioned, Jane, earlier about this is home. Ryan's in my ear saying our time is closing quickly, and there's a question that ties in with what you mentioned, Justin, about feeling safe, right? Are you safe? Do you feel safe? 2 different things, and this is about crime and drugs. So, Ryan, can you put this question up? And What policies and initiatives would you bring to the table to help decrease the rising violent crime rate and substance abuse?
I can go first, if I may. I believe that mental health is still very, very present in our community and nationwide, especially after the pandemic. And one of the ways that we could address that need and that concern is by partnering with our local entities that provide mental health services and having assessment being done in the jails and for incarcerated individuals prior to them departing, and having or trying to establish a plan for them would be something that we could do to keep everyone safe. I know that the police department is understaffed, and the city's working on the pay and the salary that's being offered. Compared to other cities, we're doing okay, but we have there's a lot of competition to try to attract and retain our officers here. And so we have to work on that, and we have to work on trying to promote those positions that are open more and trying to fill those jobs. But I believe that if we work with the police department and to look at the great work that they have been doing and kind of enhance that and strengthen our police department to keep our community safe and our families safe, that's important. And of course, like I mentioned, addressing the mental health situation that we're facing.
Supporting first responders and also mental health evaluation. I mean, you're a first responder. How would you answer this question?
Well, I'd answer it very clearly. Number one, we've already started moving in that direction with the social work community paramedicine program within the fire department, which is being very successful and has the possibility of actually paying for itself through some planned design that we had in place. Wayne County has partnered with them at this point, I think since I left the department, to add social workers. I think that placing social workers at the right point in time is a key element. I think, though, that we need to realize something I keep hearing when our people were negotiating, et cetera, that for the city of Richmond, our first responders make pretty good money. Well, you can't qualify it that way. Today's world, our younger people are mobile. And so therefore, to train a firefighter the first 5 years takes $90,000 in training. And once they're trained, they're a commodity. And so you're competing against every city. You're not competing against just cities your size. And so you have to keep that in mind. I know there are limits to these things, but that has to be kept in mind. One of the things I did, which I don't know that you could do this with the police department, but possibly, is to try to, because local youth is more apt to stay local than hiring from outside, and that's what we were doing. We were hiring all these people from all over the state, and they would use us as the base training ground to further their career. And you can't blame them for that. But I started a high school program for our fire department where we give high school students their firefighter 1 and 2 as juniors, and as seniors we give them their EMT, which is a lot of the training that they would get once they got on the fire department. We lowered our hiring age to 18, and in that we are hired up for that reason. So I think some pre-planning and trying to hire local youth that have roots here will help us keep our police and firefighters numbers up where they belong. But also, as mentioned earlier, we have to deal with the mental health, and that's dealt with direct access to the social workers to direct them, and I think we've got that starting at this point.
Thanks, Jared. I pulled in one of your themes, Jane, about really investing in the youth.
Yeah.
Now, Justin, you're the one that raised the issue of crime. You want to handle this question?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Jerry kind of alluded to as well, our first responders, our police and our fire and medics are heroes. They have these heroic acts every day, and I feel like we're all inspired by that. Locally, over the last few years, I think that's all been on display, and I think that everybody in this community should be incredibly proud of the efforts that we've seen unfold in front of our eyes. I think we need an administration we need leadership that understands the importance of facilitating the next generation of first responders. I think we need an administration that understands that recruiting from outside the area, and as Jerry mentioned about the commodity, you know, that it's much easier when we can build from within. And so high school programs, it can all start here at home. But I think that having administration and leadership that understands what it takes to be a first responder, that it's not just the first responder, but the family as well.
Oh, yeah.
And we have to take care of them as they are running to the situation, all the while we're running away from the situation.
Yeah.
So personally, I feel like providing the support that they need, emotional support or actual of gear and training, but also to find ways with the Richmond Police Department and having you know, vacancies to be creative and work in partnership with the Richmond Police Department to get those positions filled, to make it an appealing place to come and work and to continue to work and grow, so growth opportunities. But I feel like our first responders have great pride, and we back the first responders, and so that's a passion of mine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks. Ron, Carl, either one of you want to answer this question? Then we're going to move on to the next one.
I want to thank the first responders for all that they've done. The Richmond Police Department is first rate. We need to make sure that they are fully staffed. That would be within the purview of the city council, making sure that they do what they can to make sure they're fully staffed and properly trained, because a properly trained police officer will respond to the situation in the proper fashion. And so we, as the council, would need to make sure that that is what is going to be happening. And then echoing on the issue with the drugs, you know, mental health needs to be addressed as well. So.
Yeah, for me, another complex problem and needs a multifaceted solution. It's not going to be, you know, one initiative is going to solve this problem. But like Ron had said, you know, one of the things as a city council person we can do is to, you know, make sure that we're allocating funding and supporting our first responders who are out there, you know, keeping our community safe. They have the funds that they need for hiring, staffing purposes, but then also training as well. And I think it was mentioned too, supportive services, mental health services. And that's that's complex too, because just paying for that is not enough. There's some things that's behind that to actually make people feel comfortable to utilize those services. I believe our prayer medicine program is a great asset to this community. The funding that was provided to make that happen was awesome, and the way that they're sustaining that and growing that program is great as well. I've used and called upon them a couple times myself to help out with some situations in the community, and it's definitely an awesome resource. In addition to paramedicine, I think we have some opportunity. Now this is kind of adjacent to my role as a city council person, you know, but along with that, in building relationships and making connections, there's also an opportunity for community health workers. And community health workers, a little bit different than social workers or other types of disciplines. And there's actually programs out there that will fund and pay for people to actually be trained to be community health workers who can go out and support their neighbors directly, which then leads me back into supporting our neighborhoods and rebuilding our neighborhood associations. Along with that piece too, as we work to beef up our forces and to make sure that they're properly staffed. In our neighborhoods, I would love to see us get back to more community policing, seeing our officers and our first responders, fire department, you know, EMTs and others, you know, be able to go out into neighborhoods and talk with children, play basketball with them, engage them. That's going to help these young people to look up to these folks and say, I want to be just like them, and to build that pipeline. In addition, I apologize, but again,
Carl, you got a lot of things
and I'm done right after this.
Yep.
It's a lot.
What's your last thing?
Last thing, we got to support our parents. We have to support our families. And there are some we have that are really struggling. And so we've got some great resources out there. You know, parent cafes are great. And then also looking to provide opportunities for these young folks for engagement into activities that they enjoy.
I think that's what
Sorry
we
about
found
that.
around
Thank
this table is a lot of ideas, and Carla was a good example. Jane, I'm going to give you a moment.
Yeah.
Can you give us your ideas, and then we're going to move to
well,
close.
I wanted to share. My husband is a deputy, and so I know firsthand. Because I'm his wife, and how it does affect the family. They need our support. One of the things we have to think about is, what would it be like in our community if none of them were here?
That's a great point.
And that right there is going to have have us all. We should be reflective, and we cannot thank them enough. I mean, you look at even the military. What would it be like if they didn't exist? What would it be like? So I want to thank, from the bottom of my heart, the Richmond Police Department, Sheriff's Department, all of our first responders.
Jane, that's probably a good place to end, is with a
There
thank
you go.
And I'm sorry to have to cut you off.
You're all good.
I haven't gotten all my questions, and sorry to all of the viewers. We've not gotten your questions either, in part because the six of you have brought so much to this conversation. It's clear that you are deeply committed, not just to this, your candidacy for office, but more so to this community. And so I want to thank you for
Absolutely.
being here. This has been an INFocus candidate forum for the Richmond City Common Council at large. We encourage everyone to register to vote, and there is early voting as well as then Election Day, and there'll be Election Day coverage. So the information is on the screen. So for the coming candidate forums, next week it is Richmond Mayor on October 12th. Then on October 19th, the Richmond Common Council Districts 2 and 5, and then election night coverage, which will happen live here. So we invite you to join in the election night special Tuesday, November 7th, from 6 on, and want to thank all of our viewers for being a part of this time tonight. Thanks to all of our guests.
Thank
good
you
luck
very much.
and
Thank you.
as you
We
continue
appreciate it.
to run for office, and get out there and vote. Everyone get out there and
go.
vote. So, thank you.